Hey y'all, this is Nola. I wanted to come on here and share a little drawing exercise that I learned during my time teaching at Assemble so we can jump right into it. So, this exercise really is meant to be a mindfulness exercise and also a way to sort of break down the normal barriers that we have around wanting to draw or make. I think a lot of us sometimes can think, oh, well, I'm not creative, or if we are creative, we think that maybe we can't draw or that we can't paint or we can't do whatever it might be. And I think this exercise is a really great way to break down some of those barriers, just to start making things and start to see what's inside of you. Because I think this exercise is a really good way to capture your mood in a moment and time. So, with that being said, we can go ahead and jump into it. If you've got a piece of paper and Sharpie lying around, or whatever you may have lying around, you can go ahead and join this activity, or you can just listen to my voice and watch the video along. But basically, to get started, what I'm going to have you do is just write down on the back of your piece of paper something that's kind of stuck with you, stuck in your mental space, maybe something that you're having a hard time pushing out of your brain. You can go ahead and, whatever that might be, just write it down on the back of the paper. And for me, I would say I feel like there are some things that are out of my control, and the only response I can really have to that is to feel sad. Excuse me. So I'm gonna write that down on the back of my paper, and I'll also rate it of how prevalent it is in my mind. Probably a 9. And once you're finished, I'm then going to ask you to flip your piece of paper over, because now the back of your page is a safe space for that thought to rest while you work on being present in the moment with this drawing exercise. So, let's get started. So, to get started, what I'm going to have you do is really think about how you're feeling. And when I say that, maybe think about your level of energy. So, on a scale from 0 to 10, what is your energy like? Are you feeling like so tired you could crawl back into bed, like maybe a 0 or a 1? Or are you feeling more like an 8 or a 9? You feel like you could, go for a bike ride or go for a run. The second part of what makes up your mood is your pleasantness. So that may be if you're at a 0 or a 1, you feel miserable, you feel hopeless, or if you're at a 10, maybe you feel ecstatic or excited. And those ecstatic and excited also have a connotation of high energy as well. But think about where your energy and where your pleasantness or your mood are. And with that, I want you to place your marker or your pen or your crayon or whatever it may be on the page. And what I'm going to have you do is scribble on the page when I say go, and you'll stop when I say to stop. And the point of this really is to try and capture your energy in this time and moment. So if you said that your energy is at a 10, your lines should look really chaotic, going in a lot of different places, a lot of different directions, a lot of overlap. But if your energy is maybe at a 1 and your pleasantness maybe is high, then maybe you'll have a lot of looping lines and shapes that are soft. So I just want you to think about what was your answer for how you're feeling, and then with that, I want you to bring that into your line quality. So you can go ahead and start drawing now. And I'll just give you a few moments to marker on the page. Make sure you're going to each end and that you have a decent amount of overlap. You don't have to force it, but part of the exercise requires that the lines intersect at some point. So then, when you're done with that, you can go ahead and stop. So now you should have a scribble on your page, basically. And from that point, what we're going to do is start to curve out all of the intersections that we have. So if you see here, I've got this intersection of 4 different corners. And what I'm going to do is just start to round out each individual corner. The first go at it might not make complete sense, but as the video goes along, I think you'll start to get the idea of what it is that I'm doing here. Just again going in and curving out each individual corner. And at some points, like the one that I just did, if there's four corners meeting, you're going to have what looks like almost a neuron. And I think that's part of the inspiration for the neurographic line title. So again, as you can see, the more that you go in and curve out these corners, you're going to start also bolding out the work. And it's going to start turning into this abstract drawing right in front of your eyes. It's a slow process, but if you're following along, I also want you to think about, again, if you haven't already, maybe just write down somewhere, keep track of where your mood was when you started on the exercise. And then as you progress through, notice if anything's changing. So again, just curving out each and every sharp corner that I see to be a rounded dip. And because there are a decent amount of sounds and elements going on in the background video, at points of time, I'm just going to be quiet, just let you listen to the marker on the page and the birds in the trees and the cars passing by the Frick Museum of Art. And another trick that you can do, if you're somebody that's got a lot of lines intersecting and maybe it's a little bit overwhelming thinking about curving all these points, whenever you have a large open shape where you've got a couple different corners that you need to hit, a nice way to get them is to do a circle in that shape. So just draw a circle all the way around, letting it touch each border. And that way you can just go in and fill in those corners outside of that circle. And that will actually help you fill in the corners a little bit faster instead of doing one by one. But maybe what you need right now is to be slowed down, to take a moment, take a pause. So if that's the case, then you can also do it the long way. And both are fine. Both will get you to the same point. But you also will start to get these abstract shapes and voids that exist inside your drawing when you hit all the corners at once. So to get us started, as we're starting to curve our corners, I just want you to check in with your body. See if you notice any tension in your body. Maybe even if there's tension due to where you're sitting or the way you're sitting. Maybe you want to find a more comfortable spot. And once you're feeling more comfortable, just start to scan your body from head to toe. As you're curving lines, just think, you feeling tension anywhere? Maybe in your neck or in your shoulders. If you are holding tension anywhere, try to send some focus to that spot or that space and try and focus on relaxing that area as you progress through this drawing exercise. If you want to step it up a notch, maybe, I think a breathing technique that makes it a little bit easier to get into mindfulness and meditation is a 4-count breath. So inhaling for 4, exhaling for 4, inhaling for 4, exhaling for 4, inhaling for 4, exhaling for 4. And you're just going to continue that breath. If at any point in time in the exercise you feel those same spots tensing up again in your body or new tension rising, just try and work through that 4-count breath. And with this process, you don't have to be the best at drawing or the best at line work, but I do think the payoff is a little bit bigger if you choose to take your time. So, as you can see, the first pass that I do usually isn't the last pass that I do in terms of rounding a corner. I'll start with that first line to figure out where my curve is going to go, but then I go back in and I fill it in. If there's any little straight lines that are there, I might go back and just try and camouflage that in. I realize some of those things are a little bit harder to do than others, but if you're somebody that wants to work on your drawing technique, this is a perfect low risk space to do that. So again, you can see I've sort of doing it coloring book style. I've mapped out where my corner is going to be, and then I've cleaned it up, and then I just go back in and fill it in. So for my folks that like adult coloring books, this is also for you. And yeah, this is another technique I like of drawing a Y. So you just draw a Y wherever you have a T intersection, and then just go ahead and fill that in. Then you've got both lines curved. But again, if I were to leave it like this, as you can see, there's still two sharp corners there. But I'm probably going to go back in and round those corners out again. So that's what I mean when I say you want to work it a little bit. You don't want to overwork the drawing. You don't want to go back in so many times that you're starting to make the shape all black, like bigger and bigger and bigger. And you don't want to get to a point either where the paper starts pilling on you because you have so much friction between the paper and the marker. So just try and find that sweet spot of how many times do I have to go over this to get the shape I'm looking for. So with that, I think this is probably the third or fourth time I'm going over that edge just to make sure it's nice and rounded. Also, while we're working on this, I want to encourage you to think about some questions. The first of which is, what is your first memory of creating something? Your first memory of making something? Whenever I do this exercise with folks, I always share my first memory of making when making this assignment was making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for my school lunch. I'd pack my lunch and walk to school a couple minutes down the way. And yeah, that was my first memory of making my peanut butter and jelly sandwiches to take to school. If you want to share in the comments what your first memory of making is, I would absolutely love that. My favorite part of these exercises is always getting to hear other folks' answers. Secondly, I'm going to ask, what is your most recent memory of making? So was it you made your breakfast this morning? My most recent memory of making is probably this drawing that you're looking at. So, what's your most recent memory of making? Again, if you feel comfortable, please share in the comments. Or you can DM us at actup_PGH. And again, we just want to check in with our body, see how we're feeling. Has your mood level increased? Or has your energy increased or decreased? How are you feeling? How's your body feeling? And this is always my favorite question to ask. What is your most proudest moment of making? Whenever I think about this question, I think my most proudest moment of making was the first gallery show that I ever had. I think I had worked on it for like a year and a half up to the opening of the gallery, and installed it all by myself. Even though there were other folks and students that were installing and they received help and guidance on how to put their stuff up, for whatever reason, I was on my own. Um, and I probably had the most pieces, the most things to hang, but I figured it out. It was stressful and I was in over my head, but just getting to step back and seeing three generations of my family there, and this strong tie of, cultural lineage of hair and of, adornment and labor. Um, it was really beautiful. And that was the first moment that I truly considered myself an artist, was that moment when I realized, whoa, I put this show on. I made this happen. This is my work. And everything that's on these walls came from my mind. And now here it is, a full gallery. So yeah, that was my proudest moment of making. If you want to check out that work, you can go to my Instagram at, I think it's _ Nola Mims or something. It'll pop up. And if you go to my artist website, it is the Hairy Tales, an exploration of identity. That's the show that I was talking about. But to move on, what is your proudest moment of making? Have you submitted a work somewhere that you were really excited about getting accepted? Or have you made something that you didn't know you could make and you surprised yourself? Did you maybe come to creating through community with others? So maybe you met somebody else that enjoys making and they brought that enjoyment and that love of making into your life. But yeah, think about, what is your proudest moment of making? And again, if you're comfortable sharing, feel free to do so. Is there anything after completing this drawing exercise that you feel inclined to make or to create, or something you want to learn how to make now after making this drawing? Or maybe do you just want to do another one? Yeah. What are you thinking about as your next creation? You can think on that as we approach the end of this video. And again, I sound like a broken record, but if you want to share, please share. If not, no worries. This exercise is really for you to take away what works and leave what doesn't. Now that we're approaching the end of the exercise, I just want to check in and see how folks are feeling. Where's your energy at? Your pleasantness or mood? Feeling any relaxation in your body or any lessening of the tension you were feeling when you came in? And again, as we come to a close, as you're rounding out your last corners and dotting your T's and crossing your I's, I want you to think about maybe an intention you want to leave this drawing with, this different mood you find yourself in. What do you want to do with that? Do you want to maybe take some time to journal, or take a walk outside maybe, if you have the time? Maybe grab a snack, a drink of water, before you move on to your next thing for the day. Whatever it may be, I just want to think about you going off into the world with an intention. I think for me, after this, I chose to stay in the park for a few more hours and just try to ground myself. Or if you have some more time and you don't feel like stopping, but you've run out of corners to curve, you can always use this as your own personal coloring page. But yeah, it looks like my drawing is just about complete. So with that, I want to leave you all with maybe just again that last question that we were thinking about. Is there anything that you desire to make or create now that you've kind of got the juices flowing, so to speak, with this drawing exercise? Please let me know in the comments down below, and I'll be sure to get back to you about maybe some ways to make that happen. Thank you all so much for sticking in to the end, and I hope that you have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.